That's the preface for today's show. I'm going to dig into here, and I want you guys to listen to this as we go along. Again, lived experience versus what you can find valuable in that lived experience. So let's put you back in. Oops,
it makes your life so much easier.
See, I get what you're saying, Mike, but the average guy can't do that.
Okay, hold on.
Point,
but before, when I didn't have the confidence to say these things, because right now I can fly anybody in, I can fly anywhere in the world, I could do whatever I want to do, right? So, and there's always somebody who's going to be down for what you want, right? So when women realize that and they want you, if you're of value, they're going to like, all right, but I wasn't in position at certain times of my life to do that. So a motherfucker shouldn't be, if you're not in position, if you want that and you're not in position to be honest about it, get yourself in position. Quit spending energy on girls and spend energy on getting to the bag, developing your foundation. See, I don't think that we differ, right? But I think some of the energy should go to the men. Like, yo, level the fuck up.
Oh yeah.
Quit trying to, because look,
we yell at the guys too.
Yeah, quit trying to go on dates. Quit trying to maintain a woman, right? If you can't really hold it down like that, right, and move around the way that you really want to, because the problem is this. And I see young dudes on the show all the time. It's like, what are you on Tinder for? Go to school, like, or get a better job, or qualify yourself for this or that, you know. And dudes is doing it backwards. And here's the thing: for young dudes, when you're young, full of energy, ideas, you need to be ferocious at developing your foundation.
All right, I'm going to stop right there for a moment. I like what he's saying. However, again, as I was saying before, this is lived experience. So he's approaching this from a perspective of having accomplished a lot. He's saying himself, like, as I showed you guys on the lead in here video, he's at the point right now where he can make the rules. And most of the guys who are following this show, who are following Fresh's show, Fresh and Myron's show, other guys in the red pill sphere, they're not at that stage yet. They have not built themselves up to that particular point. Now, here is where I find flaws in a lot, and this is not, I mean, this is even like well-meaning red pill guys, right? It's always be on your game, be on your hustle, drive towards that particular goal. And then once you finally get to that particular stage, then you get the women. It's kind of like the Scarface template for success, right? First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women. That's basically the hustle. And once you get past that, it's like then suddenly the women are just sort of this ancillary thing at the end that come into play, and then you can make the rules, right? Like, I mean, Mike's just saying, hey, I can fly girls in, and it's all on me now. And yeah, when you're that guy and you have that look and you have that level of accomplishment, and you're that when you're Mike Rashid, then yeah, I'm sure you can. And again, that is why you don't take advice from naturals, because they don't know how it works for them. They don't know how they got to that point, or they followed a certain step, or they followed an old order plan to get to that level of success, or to make themselves the best version of themselves that they could be. Clearly Mike is if not there, he's really close to being the best version that he can be right now. So yeah, of course women are going to be down for a threesome. Of course women are going to be down for whatever it is. And if they're not, then they're out the window. And women who are looking for as high a value man as that are already going to have this foreknowledge that's what they have to deal with. That if they're not down with whatever it is that Mike wants to be, if he wants to be, if he wants 10 women, like he was saying before, Floyd Mayweather, if I can have 9 cars, why wouldn't I have 9 cars? If I can have 10 women, why would I not have 10 women? Well, when you're that guy, when you're Floyd Mayweather and you have that kind of money and you have all of that means and everything else that makes you that valuable, yeah, you can. But that we're looking at the apex example. This is a perfect illustration of the apex fallacy, only it's a guy that is telling you about the apex fallacy. Look at me. I'm at the top of the heap. I'm at the very top of the pyramid right now. Just be like me, just get to the top of the pyramid, and then you too can then concern yourself with women. You then can concern yourself with having, 10 girls and 9 cars, right? Whatever it is. And for guys in this stage who are living a different experience than he did, because clearly, guys, if you look at Mike at age 20, and I don't know how old he is right now. I think he's in his 40s. I'm pretty sure he's in, if not close. He's getting close, because he said something about how his father was like 80 years old. So he's certainly late 30s, if nothing else, maybe even 40. So he's already had this lived experience that most of these guys are just coming into. So it's very easy to say, well, just make the most of yourself. Just build yourself up. Go to school. Go do this. And that's not bad advice. No one's going to disagree with that. And he knows that no one is going to disagree with that. The problem with that is that you are stunting your education in other areas. Now, when we talk about what it is that guys, like the 3 things that guys are looking for primarily in this life, it is make money, make muscles, and learn game, right? And the learn game part is really like understand women's nature, understand how to get laid. Now, prior to this, Myron was, of course, talking about all the things like the pillars of success for guys, right? And part of that success is sleep with 50 women. Like at least have that experience. It's not like that's the literal number, like 40, 50, whatever it is. Sleep with enough women so that you understand the nature of women. And this is, and I know exactly where he's getting this from. This is the 6 chapters on plate theory that are out of my first book. So when we talk about spinning plates, yes, that is a term that I lifted from Tom Likas. There you go. It's just so you guys have that now. You forget about commenting about that. But yes, spinning plates is dating non-exclusively. It is still being after women. It doesn't mean you're doing everything to get laid, learning the secret of poon, right? How do I figure them out? It's like, remember in Conan when Conan had to like, what is the mystery of steel? And then like Thulsa Doom says, Oh, you want the mystery of steel? Here, let me tell you. Let me ruin that for you really quickly. In that one scene in the end of Conan, you probably, okay, geek moment, sorry, but like it's the same thing. This mystery that most guys right now, certainly in their late teens, all the way apparently up until they're 29 years old, according to the GSS studies, they don't understand this. They don't get it. And so when we see a generation of guys who are quote unquote losers, we think that the reason why that they're losers is because they're always chasing after women. That's their whole thing. And they would be successes if they just didn't obsess over women. Well, clearly they're not obsessing over women because statistically speaking, at least from 2018, 2019, they're not getting laid. And they don't care that they're getting laid. There's a certain subset of guys those are the top 20% guys that we all know. Let's talk about hypergamy again, whatever. But the fact of the matter remains is that the mystery of women is something that guys can't solve, or they don't know how to. How do I learn game? I'm writing a book on understanding game, not like a how-to book on game, but understanding game, because so many guys ask me, "Well, roll aware. How do I learn? How do I learn? Basically, how do I learn the mystery of women? Let me tell you. I'm Thulsa Doom, right? Let me tell you." And so they haven't figured this stuff out. Well, when you're at the apex level of success, the only thing you can, especially when you have a lived experience that is completely different from these other guys, you have to fall back on standard tropes. You have to fall back on what sounds right. It's like, just be yourself. And that's the same thing. Well, don't follow women. Go west, young man. Focus on getting some money. Because once you get the money, you get the power. Once you get the power, you get the girls, right? Say hello to my little friend. And that might sound great in 1982 when, Al Pacino is Scarface, but this is 2021. And that's old order thinking. That's 20th century thinking. We need to upgrade. We need to push things up into the 21st century. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I think. That's where I think Fresh and Myron and a lot of other people who are in this sphere are trying to do right now. Well, you can't build a success brand on that. There has to be something that is much more simplistic and easier to understand. And that's usually where it is. So what happens is it's like, just stop focusing on girls. He's going to say this here in just a minute. I would have been a billionaire if I would have just stopped focusing on girls in my 20s, which might be true. Yes, Sure. I'm not saying you obsessively focus on women. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I keep saying, don't get married. Don't become monogamous until you're 30. First book, 2013, The Rational Male, the very first one. You will find those words right there in the plate theory section of that book. And plate theory is not bang anything on two legs. It's not a PUA thing. It's a learned experience thing. It is date non-exclusively. And the reason why I say that is so that you don't get wrapped up into this serial monogamy that most guys who are the 80%ers, the guys who are the betas who trying to figure this stuff out, trying to figure out the mystery of woman, those guys don't get wrapped up in one-itis. They don't get wrapped up in the soulmate myth. That's why I say that. And it's right there, black and white. It's been there for at least the last 8 years. Published 8 years ago in October. So that's why that's a rule. That's why that's a rule. That's a suggestion. Okay, it's dream girls and children with dynamite, and that's really where Mike is going to go with this here in just a minute. I wrote another chapter called "Dream Girls and Children with Dynamite," and what he's worried about is like giving these guys the keys to the car doesn't mean that they can drive the car, and that they're going to ruin themselves because they're just going to focus on pussy. That's all they're going to do. And again, a critique that has come back around one more time in the last 20 years. You're turning these guys into, social robots. No, I'm not. I'm giving them an education so that they can understand and live better lives, become better versions of themselves. But that's the problem. People think that it's just about this obsessive, compulsive, overwhelming drive to to get laid. And that right there is what a lot of guys want to use against the red pill. They think that that's all it is. And it is so much more. And I will fight that until I am in the grave. Understanding the red pill is not about just getting laid. It is about understanding women's nature. It is about understanding men's nature. Whether that's sexual, and that goes from the micro to the macro. That goes from understanding things like ovulatory shift and women's menstrual cycles and how that affects their behaviors, all the way up to how it's affecting our politics and our religion right now. That's why it's important to nip this shit in the bud as soon as possible. Because if you don't, then people go, that's just those PUAs. They don't know what they're talking about. They just focus on pussy. That's all they care about is pussy. They're, even MGTOWs, even black pill, those guys are just pussy hounds. That's always that same thing. It comes from tradcons. It comes from black pill. It comes from doomers. It comes from MRAs. Always comes from that side. That's why they use the PUA as this kind of like, Leisure Suit Larry caricature. You don't want to be like those PUAs, man. They just care about poon. And look at them. They're down in the gutter. And look at me. I'm at the top of the heap right now. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't go and build yourself up. I keep saying this over and over again, that by the time you get to be 36, by the time you get to be Mike's age, yes, you should have maximized your potential. He is a fantastic example of a man who has maximized his potential. The problem is that he got to that potential and he's still blue pill. He still doesn't understand the mystery of women. That's the problem. He thinks he does because he can have any chick he wants, but he can, not because he understands women's nature, but because he is so high on that at the top of the pyramid, at the apex of the 20% of guys that women want to get with, that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In fact, I would argue, and people can correct me on this, but I would argue that he probably has never thought or had the insight to think about half of the stuff that Fresh and Myron are sort of presenting to him in this. Now, there's a series of other videos going around like, microseed versus the red pill. Okay, whatever. But I would say that the only reason like guys like this are coming around to the red pill is because it's like this. It's the Tim Pool effect, right? It's Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, Loudereth Crowder, even Andrew Clavin. Look at the laundry list of guys who suddenly want to become red pill. They suddenly want to talk about all this stuff. And you know what? Every single time you talk to these guys, they have no clue what they're talking about. And they have to tread very, very lightly. I'm still never going to get invited to go talk to Tim. Hey, call me up, Tim, right? I'm never going to go on that show because they know that if I come in there, I'm going to fuck up their shit. That's what's going to happen. And there goes my monetization, whatever. But that will happen. So I'll go in there and present arguments and present data and present things that they could not have any counter argument to. And that's what they're worried about. You want to know why I'm not going to go on Joe Rogan? Same reason. They'll have Hotep Jesus on there, but they won't have Rollo Tomasi. They say, "Oh, well, you sound like you're jilted." Oh, no, that's not it. I know that I won't get on there because I will raise issues or I'll talk about things that they simply don't want to talk about. Rich Cooper was just on with Andrew Klavan. I thought that was interesting, considering that I just did a critique video of his stuff, sort of picking it apart. And then if you go and you look at the commentary on that video that he just did, it's all women going, "Well, if you have a good Christian marriage, then things," and it's all this default to this reflexive,